Hey, what's up, YouTube? My name is Joel Tola. I have started making videos on the solar industry, specifically closing solar deals and kind of the ins and outs of my experience as a closer and how I deal with the industry and all the different things that are changing. So I use this channel not as a way to kind of give people tips because I don't think that I'm the best, or even I don't even think I'm really that good as it is. But I think I really have found very cool and interesting ways to close deals. I think I can always be better as a closer in terms of my skill set, but I think there's so many interesting things that you can find out there to just kind of help you, and nothing that can kind of supplement you being a good closer, but also things like kind of like this video where if you can figure this out, you can close more deals than the best closers out there if they don't know about this strategy or any other really interesting strategy. So I want to use this channel as a way to share ideas, have conversations, and know more about, hey, what are some cool things that people are doing. So if you're in the industry, if you're closing solar deals, especially if you're doing it virtually like I am, right? I really want to build a community around that. So if you're that type of person, I know there's not a lot of people out there that are making content like this. I don't think. I think there's me. Me now. I just started, right? But then there's my boy Leon, who, shout out to him. He's killing it with the content in the solar industry. And there's a couple other guys, but there's not a lot of us who are making content in the solar industry. So if you found this and you are in the industry, or if you're just thinking about getting into the industry, then this is really cool place to be if you want to build that community. I'm gonna be making a lot more videos in the future too. But just to get into the point, so there's a really cool, a really interesting strategy or way of thinking about these deals that I have found that I really want to share with you. So here's kind of the backstory on that. So if you've been in solar industry, or if you've kind of been in the industry for a while, if you've known about the industry, back in the day, around like 2020, 2021, the good old days, the interest rates were so low on these loans, and the dealer fees, the finance fees are so low on these loans that you can theoretically sell a solar deal, make anywhere between 7 to 10 to 15,000, maybe even more, and give people an alternative to their electric bill that's about half of the cost of their electric bill, and then sign them up like that day one, right? That was solar, right? And that was why solar was so intriguing for a lot of people to get into industry and start selling. It was very easy to sell, relatively easy to sell. Obviously, you need sales skills and trust building skills or whatever, but it was relatively a really crazy good offer that you can still make crazy good amount of money. It was a honeypot or whatever, right? So obviously that's great, but now as things have developed, as the world has changed, as the industry has changed, interest rates have been going up because of the economy. Dealer fees, dealer rates are going up. So right now in a regular solar loan, right, depending on where you're selling it at, you can rarely, if you want to make a really healthy margin, make anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000, even that. You're really just swapping out people's electric bills with the same amount in terms of a monthly payment. Whereas before, if someone has a $200 electric bill, you can drop it down to $100 and still make $10,000, right? And switch them out with that monthly payment. So that's something that we are dealing with in the industry. I think last year was like a down year, I would say, for the industry because of all these different changes. And it's always going to be the best, the people that adapt the best, that are always going to survive, that are always going to grow, right? That's always what I've thought. So I've had a lot of friends who joined this industry with me, who left and started pursuing other things. But I've always believed that if you can adapt, right, especially in circumstances like this, you can always make it out and be even better. So I've just stayed in there and try to figure out, okay, what are some ways that we can do this? And again, it hasn't been pretty. The last couple years, it hasn't been pretty. But we've figured out new ways, and this way you can adapt and become better as a closer, as a salesperson. So that's the issue that we're dealing with right now, right? It's we in order to actually sell people, like get them a really good deal, even save them like $20, $30, $40 a month on their electric bills, compared to the monthly payment for the solar, you would have to lower your price by a lot, right? And sometimes it's impossible to save people money. And some deals I'll get, and it's impossible to save this person any money, right? And especially with the way that the marketing aspect of solar has been going in terms of how this is being marketed to, especially in social media, things like that we're running ads on. There's a lot of free solar, free solar, free solar. Get solar instantly, save money right away. And there's people coming in, and I've had leads like this with really high expectations who want to save money right away, who need something now, but now we're trying to, we can't get them in instant savings, right? And solar is still a really good product. It's still an amazing product. You can still save tens of thousands of dollars over time with this product. But a lot of people, right, and very, understandably, want to save money instantly and want instant results and instant gratification. That's how people are right now in this age. So it's understandable, right? And you can't hate the customer. You can't say the customer is wrong. The customer is always right. Why? Because they're the one that are buying, right? So if they want something instantly, right, and we can't give them something instantly, then that product customer fit isn't there, right? So we need to figure out a way to give them what they want and still make money, still make a healthy margin, and still run a successful business. So the interesting new thing that I've found, and this is kind of what I used to do. I used to just be like, okay, I just need to get better at sales. I need to sell people more in the fear of the future and say, hey, yes, they're not going to save something right now, but in the future, things might get really bad, and this is going to be a very constant thing. It's going to save you a lot of money over time. Like, that was the way that I had to sell. And again, that doesn't mean I didn't sell anything. I still did a little bit of sales, but it wasn't, it was very hard. And every time that I would get a deal, I would find myself wanting it to no-show. I would find myself, because it was very stressful to go in something that you don't believe in. It's like that conviction, right? I didn't believe in that offer that I was giving people, and I was like, this offer doesn't fit. So like, there was no conviction that I had going into selling this offer, and that also hurted my sales as well. So all that being said, right? You're like, okay, Joel, like, yeah, that sounds rough. Okay, what have you found? What's the new thing? So here's something that I've, I don't know if I want to say that I came up with it, but something I've realized that, okay, people want instant savings, right? People want to save money instantly. They want instant gratification. How do we set it up that way to where we can do that, right? So this is kind of how I about it. Here's what I used to do. Okay, and I'm going to go over Redline. So if you don't know what a solar Redline is, pause this video, search up, Redlines and solar, watch that, and then come back. I might have a video on this by then. I don't know, maybe. If I have a video on it, watch that, or watch whatever video. Just understand what a Redline is. So I'm going to explain how this concept works really quick. Hopefully you can see me. But here's how it works. So when you're selling a solar deal, you get a red line. Let's say the red line is at $2, just to, oh, this is flipped. But whatever. Let's say the red line is at $2, okay? And you have a $2 red line, and that's very rare, but let's just say you got that. And let's say you're selling a 10 kilowatt system. 10 kilowatt system, you have a red line of $2, and let's say if you want to make $10,000, you have to sell it at $3. Okay? So now, when you're selling at $3, I don't know what the monthly rate's going to be, but let's say their average electric bill is, let's say the average electric bill is $200 a month. Okay? And these numbers might be completely off, but at $3, you're coming in at $200 a month. Okay. Yes, you're making $10K because you're making $1 more than the red line. That's how red lines work, and it's a 10 kilowatt system. So $1 times 10,000 is $10,000. So. And now you see, okay, they're paying $200 a month, and when they go solar, right? They get to pay $200 a month. So you see how for a person that is, who wants instant gratification, who needs this instant offer, that doesn't really work for them, right? And if you're really good at sales, if you're really good at closing, right, you can build up the fear because this is fixed, right? This is a fixed amount on the solar, and this is always going up, right? So that's what we've been doing until now. It's like, hey, your bill is always going up. Solar stays the same flat all year, and that's still an amazing offer. But for some people, that's not good enough, right? And at least it's not good enough for you to get a high close rate and instant close rates without people wanting to think about it or whatever. So what do we do? What do we change, right? Here's a kicker. So this really mainly works on loans, right? It might work on a lease, but it mainly work on loans. And here's what I would do. So I'd actually go the opposite direction here. So instead of lowering my price per watt all the way down to $2.35 to get them a $165 bill and save them $35 a month, which is okay, cool, fine, whatever, right? Instead of going down, I'm gonna go up on my price per watt. I'm gonna go to $4, okay? $4 per watt. What does that do to me? Instead of making $10,000, I make $20,000 on this deal if I sell it at $4. Okay? And with the way that the tax credit is set up, right, you only pay the installer $2. Right? You still only pay it $2, even if you sell it at $4, with the way that Redlines are set up. So for that extra $10,000 that I made, they still get 30% off, right? Off that, and I still only pay the same amount to the installer, which is $2 a watt, right? So let's say, $2 is $20,000. I'm paying $20,000 to the installer, and I get to keep $20,000 to myself. So we're making 50-50, where before it was $20,000 to the installer, $10,000 to me, right? Now we're making a 50-50 margin. That doesn't, I don't want to overcomplicate this. That doesn't matter, right? But just realize that's why this isn't such a crazy amount. Every time you add money, you're actually getting money for cheaper because of the tax credit. Again, you don't have to understand that. Just know that when you do $4, this doesn't go up twice as much. It only goes up it would probably go up to instead of it being 200, it might be 280 or something a month, right? Something like that. Okay, it's not going to be a crazy increase, right? It's not going to be proportional to the amount that you made money by. That's what I meant by that, right? But you don't have to understand that. But just know that it's going to be $280 a month. Okay. So instead of it being $200 a month, it becomes $280 a month. They're paying an extra $80 a month, but now you're making an extra $10,000. So what do we do? How do we use this? Obviously, if you're really good at sales, if you want to use if you're also super good at closing and just sell a 280, make an extra $10,000, cool, right? But if you want to have a really high close rate, you can use that extra $10,000 that you made, right, to give them a really great offer. Right, and still make the same amount of money and have a higher close rate, close more deals, which then makes us more money. So that $10,000 extra that we make off of this deal, right? We can use that. We can frame it. Again, you're gonna need to be really good at framing things. We can say, hey, you're paying $200 a month right now, and you can take this in so many different directions. Right? You're still giving them the same amount of money, but you can still take it in so many different directions. And I'll make more videos on this and have more conversations with people on this about this. But I can say, hey, I'll give you guys 2 years of free solar, right? 2 years of free solar. So we'll get, I have a chart that I would send them, right? I have a chart that I can just send it to their phone and say, hey, you're paying $200 a month right now, right? Obviously, you have to frame, right? So you have to compare apples to apples. I'll have a chart that says you're at 200 now. You go to 230 next year. You go to 240, 250 the next year. You go down, and you go 300, 400, and it keeps going up, right? And I'll say, okay, we'll give you $0 first year, we'll give you $0 second year, and by the time you would have already been at 280, right? That's usually how I like to set it up. By the time you would have already been at 280, then you go to 280, right? And it stays the same, whereas that 280 would have kept going up, but you get initial savings of 2 years of free power at $200 a month is like $5,000, right? That they saved. Okay, they save $5,000. You take $5,000 off of your extra $10,000 to basically give them that as a cash back, as an allowance to pay off to give. You can't give them $0 a month payments, right? It doesn't work like that. You would just give them the $5,000 as a check, as in like basically an allowance for that, right? That's how you'd set that up, but still the same thing, right? As long as you frame it right, it's still the same thing. But yeah, you would get that extra. You're making $15,000, right? And you're giving them technically, as long as you frame it right, a better offer, a way better offer. You're saving $5,000 a month instantly, right? And then by the time you have to start paying for this, you would have already been at 280, and you get to keep the benefits of the long-term savings, right? And also have the benefits of the short-term savings, which is what people want. They want short-term, instant gratification savings. So you play to that, and now you make an extra 50. You made an extra 5, right? You're making $15,000 of this because you only gave them 5. You can do more. You can give them 10. You can pay for 4 years. You can make the offer even better. It just depends on. You have so much flexibility and so much ways to do this. And another thing you can do, and something I like to do sometimes, is say, hey, your bill's only going to be $100 for 5 years. 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. For 5 years, instead of it being 200 and then 230 and then 250 and then 290 and whatever, right? You get 100 for 5 years, and then you get to 280. You're still giving them the same amount of money. You're still giving them $5,000, right? But now you framed it in a way that is like, hey, it's like you're only paying $100 a month for 5 years, right? Now, instead of you selling a $200 thing a month, you're selling a $100 thing for 5 years. You're able to set it up that way because you increase your price per watt, and the way that the tax credit's set up, it's not a proportional increase on the monthly payment than it would have been without tax credit. So this works really well. A general rule of thumb. Again, I still have to ask some questions about this just to know exactly how this would impact like accounting, right? So my general rule of thumb is so far from now is like just try to make more money than you're giving them, right? I've had really big deals where I have to give them like $15K, right, $16K, right? And unless I'm making more than that, I don't want to give people that much money. I want to kind of limit it to where it's like, okay, what's the amount that is going to be, just what's the threshold to where it's going to be a headache in accounting for us to give people this much money, right? You just want to make sure you're under that. But again, I still haven't done that research yet, so I would kind of do your research on your own, like look at your accounting and say, hey, like what's the, what kind of amount of money giving people would make it kind of hard for us in accounting. But if it doesn't, you just roll with it. But that's my general rule of thumb. Is like, hey, if I'm making $10,000, I don't want to give them more than $10,000 to make $10,000. Like I want to make sure it's at least even, or else we're making more than we're giving them. Just for me, right? But that could always change. That's just something. But yeah, that's the idea. That's the concept. This is kind of a way to frame your offer, right? In a way to give people what they want, which is instant savings, and not have to sell them on future savings when people want savings now, right? People don't care what happens in the future. They want instant gratification, right? And with the way, as long as you frame, again, this is all dependent on your ability to frame. So I say this a lot. Framing is important. It's a very important factor in this. You got to be able to frame the electric bill comparison. You got to be able to make sure that they understand that this is going up. You got to have stories to tell. You got to have research to bring up to get them in a state of mind of saying, okay, yeah, these bills will be going up at least 10% a year, or at least 7% a year, or at least 5% a year, whatever, right? So you can give them the graph, you can give them the chart and say your bill is going to be this, and this year 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, if we assume these increases. Once you have that chart, then you can say, okay, by year 4, you're going to be at $280. We're going to match you at $280 at year 4, but we're going to give you free electricity until then. Okay, so framing, right? Very important. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. If I find more things, I'll make more videos, but that's the idea. I'm gonna try to flip this because from what I'm seeing it, you're not gonna be able to read this, so I'm gonna try to flip the video somehow. But hopefully you can see that. If not, just imagine what I'm writing down, right? But yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, just join the community. Let's share ideas. I want to hear what people have to say about this. Right? I know this is not a new concept. Right? This is not a new concept. People have been giving cash back, giving rebates forever, and it even in the solar industry, right? It's been happening forever. Hey, we'll give you $5,000 cash back to do this right now. But this, I feel like this is just a way to frame. Like I just find my own way of framing that cash back in a way to lower their monthly payments, because that's what they are thinking about most when going into these things. So it's all a frame game, right? Cashbacks aren't new. I'm not going to say I just invented cashbacks or invented rebates, right? It's always been there, but this is just kind of a new way to frame it for me that I've learned that has extremely helped me in my close rate, especially in the last 3 weeks or so that I've been using this. So, but yeah, cool. All right, nice video there. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Follow me on Instagram. Send me a DM. Talk to me. Let's start a conversation. Right. So what I want to do. So I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, have a great one. Keep closing.